Hello. Welcome to my. Oh my god! 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 Welcome to a new edition of the Unscripted Hour by me, Carter Adams. So yeah, if you've never been to the Unscripted Hour before, it is a podcast I have made, which every video is in forth a podcast that you can listen to on YouTube Podcasts and maybe Spotify. Let's see what happens in that. I'm working with Spotify right now. Not sponsored. Anyway, so welcome back to my channel. The Unscripted Hour is a podcast that you can listen to on YouTube. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch anywhere. You can listen to anywhere. I don't know. Subscribe for more. So, in the Unscripted Hour, I like to do is mostly unscripted. It has, I don't know why, it's not an hour. I don't know why I said an hour. It just popped in my head like, oh, the Unscripted Hour. I'm just being so cringy, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, welcome back. So, today we are going to be reading short stories, scary stories, and the app or website that I'm going to be... I'm sorry, guys. I say this in every video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you appreciate my content, even though it sucks. It's horrible. Yes, I'm just like a teenager doing this stuff. Yes, I'm a teenager. Leave it alone. And at least I fixed my lighting, so I'm not too crazy. The background that used to have the McDonald's Happy Meal boxes, all my collectibles, that's gonna be renovating for a while because I have to redo my room. I don't have to, I want to. Anyway, let's just get started into the video. So the first one that we are gonna read is blog.reedsy.com/shortstory/2xznbg/. If you wanna read this story called Chaltier's Well, go do that. By the way, I'm not affiliated with reedsy.com. I'm just reading them off right now. Maybe some people will go to their website. I don't know. It's not a sponsor. But if you want to sponsor me, you don't even have to pay me. Please sponsor me. I'll pay you. Wait, no, I won't pay you. I'm broke. You don't have to pay me. Just let me sponsor some of you. Okay, anyway, so let's read it. First, I want to know how to say this word real quick. Okay, I got it right. Chaltier's Well. So this is from Reedsy Prompts, submitted to contest number 300, and Chaltier's Well, written in response to write a story about a place that hides something beneath the surface. This is by Jacob SanSoucie. I can't say that. I'm very sorry, guys. Okay. Chaltier's Well had stood for 3 centuries at the fringe of a western settlement, near prospering enough to expand beyond its original boundaries, nor falling enough to join the ranks of ghost towns that dotted the region like abandoned chess pieces. The town maintained precisely 1,876 souls, the same count reported into the census of 1876, and every census 6. People didn't leave Chaltier's Well, not permanently. Those who tried and found themselves circling back within months, drawn by what locals called the tug. A homesickness so profound that it manifested in physical pain. Went unmarked upon residents unnoticed by outsiders, who rarely lingered more than a night at the Red Circle Inn. The town existed in kind of a perpetual present, never growing, never diminishing, and as the methodical tick of the clock tower that had never required winding. Oh my god, I just got an alarm that said react to the scary stories video. Okay. My hair looks horrible. Early Wade returned to Chaltier's well after 15 years away, a statistical anomaly the town had never before witnessed. She had left at 13, dragged screaming from the town she had never before witnessed. The tug nearly killed her father after 3 stations spent overseas in the military. Now 38, Ellery parked her rental car at the edge of Main Street and sat motionless behind the wheel, studying the unchanged storefronts within the clinical detachment of a pathologist. The vehicle's navigation system had filled with 20 miles outside town, the screen displaying only a looping animation of reallocating routes. Her phone showed no service. These technological hiccups were barely registered. She'd exposed them. She had prepared for them. But what she didn't have anticipated was the absence of the tug. Every childhood nightmare had featured that sensation, the town's ghostly fingers hooking up into her spine, reeling back like on a fishing line. Yet now, nothing. She left only the hollow space where dread should have been. Which somehow worse. Ellery excited the car, the mid-October air crisp enough to sting her lungs. The town square lay before her. Its centerpiece, the well from Chaltier's well, derived its name. A simple stone cylinder rising 3 feet from the cobblestones. It had never run dry, not even during its 7-year drought of the 1930s. The cobblestone bore no winch bucket. Water simply appeared in the drinking fountains and taps throughout town, clear and sweet and cold. Ellie Wade, lore above, it can't be. Marjorie Finch stood above the doorway of the bakery, flour dusting on her forearms like spent gunpowder. She had been old since Ellery was young, and now she was ancient, her skin like parchment stretched over her knuckle bones. Yet she stood straight, her eyes sharp as splinters. "It's me, Mrs. Finch. They said you died." The old woman's voice carried no occasion. Only the mild correction one might use when pointing out a misremembered recipe. "Who's that?" "Everyone. After your daddy passed away." The announcement ran in the Herald. Ellery's laugh had no humor. "My father is alive in Arizona. I spoke to him yesterday." Mrs. Finch revealed teeth too perfect for their age. "Well, ain't that particular. Memory plays tricks these days." She retreated into her shop without another word, the bell above the door tinkling with a deceptive cheer. The encounter left Ellery cold, in a way the autumn air shouldn't explain. She approached the well with measured steps, her boots clicking against the cobblestones by centuries of passage. A plague affixed to the stone bore the town's founding date, June 8th, 1723, and the name of its founder, Pierre Chaltier, a French tapper who had discovered the natural spring that fed into the well. They don't like it when people stare too long. Ellery turned to find a boy about 10 regarding her with solemn eyes. His clothes were oddly formal, a white button-down shirt, pressed slacks, shined shoes, but his dirty blonde hair hung in his eyes with a boyish disregard. "Who doesn't like it?" she asked. "The currents," he said, as though it were obvious, the way another child might reference the sky or the ground. "What currents?" The boy tilted his head, studying her. "You're the only one that got away," he said, not answering her question. "They've been waiting for you." Before Ellery could respond, the boy darted across the square toward the library, his formal shoes oddly silent against the cobblestones. Ellery had come to Chaltier's well with a purpose: to sell his mother's house. The last physical tie binding her to this place, the modest Victorian, sat 3 blocks from the square. Its blue paint faded, but intact, the porch swing still hanging from rusted chains. The key turned smoothly in the lock as though the door had been recently oiled. Inside, the dust shapes furniture draped like shrouds. But otherwise, the house appeared as though her family had just stepped out for the afternoon. Her mother's reading glasses lay folded on the entry table. A stack of mail, the topmost envelope dated the week they'd left, sat unopened beside them. The air smelled of lavender and lemon, her mother's preferred cleaning scents. Ellery moved through rooms with increasing unease. The kitchen chandelier displayed the month they've left. 15 years earlier, in the refrigerator, a carton of milk remained unexpired. She'd check the date 3 times before pouring it down the drain, watching the white liquid swirl away with the sensation of approaching panic. That night, she'd lay awake in her childhood bedroom, where glow-in-the-dark stars still formed crude constellations on the ceiling. Sleep eluded her, replacing by a sensation like being watched. Not being watched by someone, but something with infinite patience. Around 3 a.m., she heard it, water moving through the pipes, not in the typical rushed whoosh of modern plumbing, but with deliberate, measured progress. The sound circled the house, moving through walls where no pipes should be, before concentrating beneath her bed. Drip, drip, drip. Ellery switched on the side lamp. No water stained the hardwood floor, yet the sound continued with the metronomic precision. Drip, drip, drip. She pressed her ear to the floor and heard something else beneath the dripping. Voices, hundreds of them, conversing in overlapped whispers too faint to comprehend. Morning came with the fog so thick that it pressed against the windows too, like cotton wool. Ellery dressed quickly and left the house, intent on visiting the town clerk to inquire about property records. The streets were oddly empty, even for a weekday in a small town. Somewhere distant, chimes rang in a pattern that raised gooseflesh on her arms, not musical, not communicative like Morse code. The municipal building stood on the opposite of the well, its red brick facade severed against the milky sky. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed with yellowish light. The clerk was a balding man with wide-rimmed glasses, greeted her without surprise. "Mrs. Wade, we've been expecting you." The words were innocent enough, but delivered with an inflection above the suggested "we." Encompassed that there was more than just town officials. "I want to sell my mother's house," Ellery stated flatly. "I'm afraid that won't be possible." The clerk's smile never reached his eyes. "Your mother's property isn't illegally transferable. It's bound to the family line in its perpetuity." "That's absurd. Show me the deed." Without breaking eye contact, the clerk reached beneath his desk and protruded a leather folio, yellowed with age, but still modern. Inside lay a document written in faded ink, bearing her mother's signature beside another that made Ellery's breath catch. Her own childish scrawl, dated 3 days before they left town. I never signed this. You did. The clerk's voice held absolute certainty. All children of Chaltier's Well signed the covenant on their 13th birthday. It binds them to the town, to what's beneath. What's beneath what? His smile widens. You know, you've always known. That's why you fought so hard to leave. Ellery fled the building, the leather folio clutched in her hands. Outside, the fog had thinned enough to reveal the town square, where residents now gathered around the well in a loose circle. Their postures were identical, heads tilted slightly as though listening to something emanating from the wood-stone depths. The boy from yesterday stood apart from the circle, watching her with those same solemn eyes. When their gazes met, he beckoned toward the clock tower that overlooked the square. Against her better judgment, Ellery followed him up a narrow, winding stairs to a vantage point, just below the clock face. Through leaded windows, they watched the silent congregation below. What are they doing? She whispered. Communicating with the currents. The town feeds it, and feeds it the town. What is it? The boy's expression shifted to something older than his face could properly contain. It's what settled here a long time ago before Chaltier dug his well. What keeps everyone the same, year after year. It's why no one dies here unless they try to leave. Ellery's mind raced through childhood memories. How town elders never seemed to age past a certain point. How no one ever moved away. How the population never changed despite births still occurring. She had attributed these oddities to the particular stagnation of a small town life. But now, and the tug that pulls bring people back, the currents need bodies. The boy's matter of fact tone made the statement more horrifying. They flow through everyone here, like blood. When somebody leaves, the current stretches, tries to pull them back. If they resist too long, it snaps, and they die. But I got away. The boy nodded. You're the only one. That's why they needed you back so badly. You're a broken circuit. Below, the gathered townspeople began to sway in unison, a gentle motion like a seaweed in tide. From his height, Ellery could see something else. Thin, silvery filaments, extending from the well to each person, connecting them like marionettes to a central control. What happens if I refuse to stay? The currents will find another way. They always do. The boy gestured toward the window. Look. Beyond the town limits were farmland. Should have stretched to the horizon. A wall of dense fog obscured the window. There was no way out anymore, the boy said. There hasn't been for centuries. That's impossible. I just drove here yesterday. Did you? Or did you just arrive? Can you remember the journey? Ellery opened her mouth to describe the 5-hour drive from the airport, but details slipped away like water through cupped hands. She remembered leaving the rental car agency, and then she was here, parked at the edge of Main Street. What is this place? What are you? The boy's smile was gentle, almost apologetic. I'm here to what you meant to become. A conduit, a keeper, every generation. One child is to maintain the balance between above and below. When you escaped, I had to take your place. You're not 10 years old. I'm 93. But the currents keep me as I was when I took the oath. Ellery backed towards the stairs. I don't believe any of this. I'm leaving. Today. The boy made no move to stop her. You can try, but even if you make it past the boundary, you'll just find yourself back here. The currents have closed the loop. Chaltier's well doesn't exist in your world anymore. As if to punctuate his statement, the clock behind them chimed, 13 sonorous stones that resonated in Ellery's chest like physical blows. She fled down the stairs and across the square. She saw a car. The car continued forward on its own. The fog around here became something else. Water. And a dark silence. Pressing against the windows with impossible pressure. She wasn't driving away. She was sinking. Descending into the depths that shouldn't exist between a small western town. Though the windshield, Ellery saw lights twinkling in the darkness. An invested reflection of the town above, but older, vaster, its architecture both familiar and raw. Silhouettes moved between the illuminated windows, human in outline only. Their movements too fluid for bone and muscle. As water began sleeping through the car's seams, Ellery understood at last. Chaltier's well wasn't named for the stone structure in a town square. The entire town was a well, a plug, a lid, a demarcation point between worlds. And what they lay beneath water, but something that had used water as its medium for crossing over. The car gently appeared on what appeared to be a street smooth of black stone. Outside, the silhouettes gathered, watching. As the water filled the vehicle to her chin, she made her choice. She would find her way back up. And what she did, she would seal the well properly, permanently, even if it meant the town and everyone would finally have to face what it truly meant to end. The water closed over her head, and Ellery Wade began to swim. That's the end. I hope you liked it. This story was posted on April 25th, 2025. It has 33 likes and 36 comments. Thank you. Now, what I'm going to say is it had a great I'm going to say it had a great sense of place and dread. There are some really nice touches that I will remember for a while. Flour dusting her forearms like spent gunpowder, the description of a 10-year-old not aging. In the car, the tension continues to build throughout the drip, drip, drip. Thank you. I hope you like this video. Just one little side note. I'm sorry that I can't post videos often. I have some stuff to do. My school's almost ending. I have to take some more tests. I'm gonna do guitar lessons. My uncle's gonna teach me how to do guitar, so maybe some vlogs with that. I just want to tell you guys, I really appreciate my only 93 subscribers, but that is so much that I've ever had, ever, on this platform. I know that I mean so much to you guys, and I'm gonna give a little shout out to somebody that I think deserves it. This is a shout out to @user Mr. Z on YouTube. He has just, I don't know, just helping me with my journey, and yeah, he's just been engaging a lot and commenting on my posts, doing all that stuff. Thank you, Mr. Z158. Thank you. This is the end of the video. Bye.